It's good water, and it tastes different. I got an official like from Icelandic water.
Yo, what's up?
What's up?
Is this about open source code?
You bet. So this is everything NFT and Web3. Usually I just spend the first few minutes talking about alcohol and drinks so that I can warm the room up.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm just at work here, but I want to share this open source NFT repo, and like this is like a full-fledged full stack Web3 app, right? So what it is, it's like it's the front end's made in React and the back end's made with AWS, like AWS Lambda and API Gateway.
Yep.
And this is like it's like a metaverse, like kind of like Decentraland, except for it's 2D. There's an in-game currency you could withdraw to the blockchain, send it back. There's a P2E game, and it's like so it's a pretty like in-depth repo.
That's a mono repo if I've heard one.
Yeah. So like I made it open source just like to help the community, to improve the security, and also mainly like people were trying to like accuse, a lot of people are making accusations about scamming and stuff. So I was like, here, you can see the code for yourself, right? So they can't say anything about that.
Cool.
And that's where I have a few minutes here. So I'd like to learn a bit more about you guys.
Doge Destiny, do you know of this new DAO that's getting set up called Game 7? It's a DAO that's raised like $300 million, and their job is to build open source public goods for blockchain gaming.
I have not heard of this. So what is this one called?
Game 7. So our website is game7.io.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, thank you for the reference. What kind of alcohol is that? That's a whiskey?
Yeah, so this is Japanese whiskey.
Are you a rum drinker?
I can do rum. We've got some Havana here.
You got some Havana?
We've got some Havana.
What year is it?
Well, we'll pull it out.
Go get it, William. Let's see.
I know a particular vintage that I have to recommend. You won't be able to get it right now because it's in Cuba, but it's probably the best rum I've ever had, especially to drink straight.
What year?
It's are you ready? Write this down.
I'm ready on Google.
It's the Havana Club 7 Ano.
So you're talking about this, the 7.
It's smooth. The 7.
He's got the 7. There he is. He's got it.
That's,
You got it?
yeah, Metaverse superhero. Nice.
For some reason I can't find the dog.
I'll post it in Twitch chat.
Thank you.
All right, so create Metaverse. What's going on here? So we've got a package that claims to create a Metaverse, the whole thing. So we've got a video. We shell and chill here, so that's cool. So it's got a game. It's got a store. Looks like you can load stuff into your store. There's battling. What I like about open source projects, here, I'm going to give some shout outs. So here's what I like here. I like that I can see a lot of good quality symbols here. I can see a negative symbol that this repo is archived, but there's a lot of good quality symbols here. So we've got a product, we've got a picture, at least sets the mood. This is not like probably the actual product. We've got a video that explains the features. We've got the whole product. So it looks like, I don't know if the buy buttons work, but it's not like, here's like a library that does 1/10 of what you need. Like it actually looks like it's going to get you to the finish line. It takes some of the important notes that you would care about if using this, like commercial rights, and it spells it out. And then it's got a deployment on live networks. And then it's got, these look like links to their, these are sales pages. So, I mean, this is commercial. There's nothing wrong with commercial.
What have you been up to, William? I saw you mention buying a contract on TRON.
So, rookie move, I have a contract ready to deploy on TRON. It's for TRON, you would use TRON IDE. So I'm going through the motions, trying to find the best practice for deploying on TRON, have a contract. If you don't know, TRON is my advisory client, so TRON DAO. Maybe in the future I'll teach a class about it or something. And I got pretty far, but I didn't realize how much resources it was going to cost to deploy the contract, and it failed because it was out of energy. It's just a hello world. There's nothing fancy about it. But and I use the same hello world for all my classes. But I did want to go through the motions. So here is yep, so here's the code. I mean, it's just a favorite number. If anybody here has been in my class, you're going to recognize this contract. This is like the Will's basic intro to Solidity class contract. And yeah, so I wanted to deploy it on TRON. I put some slides together, but yeah, sorry, I don't have it on mainnet yet. I'm working on that. Cool.
These things take time.
Yeah, the experience was pretty decent. We used it, so TRON, comparing TRON to Ethereum, TRON has a browser extension. It's not MetaMask. The browser extension looks a little bit different. And it doesn't look the same. It's not like a copy paste. It definitely looks different. TRON uses TRON scan as opposed to Etherscan. TRON scan is pretty decent. And if you've used Polygon or whatever, those are just a copy of Etherscan. This one actually looks a little different. Some things are, nicer. Some things are just different. Like you can see the contract code looks like this. There's a multi-file browser. One of the things I hate about Etherscan is just the way you browse published smart contracts. So this one's pretty decent. Once I can go through the full process of deploying and using on-chain and all these things, and I'll make a dApp in TRON, I'll prepare the normal stuff I would teach for a course and just compare, give feedback like, would you want to use this? What are some of the gotchas? One of the weird things about TRON that might not make sense at first is that on Ethereum you have gas, but on TRON you have energy and bandwidth. So there's a different way that you pay for the transactions. So just a little different. So you just want to understand that, and they have a different cost structure for them too, because they have these super representatives. It's a delegated proof of stake, so it can move a lot faster, and so that's why things can be cheaper on TRON.
How does energy and bandwidth work?
So bandwidth is directly the number of bytes in your transaction. So if you send one transaction and it's like 1 byte, that's 1 bandwidth, or 100 bytes is 100 bandwidth. And then energy is the processing power, what in Ethereum we call gas. And the bandwidth actually is free. So you get an allotment every day. You get so much bandwidth, so many bytes that you can send to the blockchain. And the energy changes based on how expensive the operations are. So energy on TRON is very comparable to gas on Ethereum. Now, if you stake your TRON, there's some tokenomics here. If you stake your TRON, then you can get energy. You would earn energy or get or earn or whatever energy and or bandwidth. So you could set aside some of your TRON for staking and then just make transactions without any cost whatsoever.
Right. And what about votes? What does that mean?
I don't know about the votes. I believe you can stake, and then after a certain amount of time, you're entitled to vote, and you can vote probably towards the ecosystem. That might be this button. Votes. And you can vote on stuff like, I think there's two things. I think you can vote on super representatives. So super representatives are kind of special nodes in the network, so they can approve transactions faster, but you can vote for them.
So is that like 2 layers to the governance then?
They're separate things. So the one is the super representatives. Separately, there's these proposals. For example, proposal to modify the cost of account creation. So that would be like a hard fork change. And in Ethereum, where Ethereum Foundation just decides, hey, we're going to modify the cost of account transact creation and, upgrade your client now. TRON instead will have some type of a vote and, a little more community input. So I think the Ethereum community process, leaves some things to be desired, a lot to be desired. And so I'm glad to see a different approach. I don't know if this is better, but, we can at least compare them, right?
Very, very interesting.
I saw before in the vote section, some of the key stakers were JD Investment and Ant Group, which seem to be big
China
Chinese tech companies.
Yeah.
Are they actually they're actually involved, or is it just the names of?
So, I'm supposing that just like in Bitcoin, when you mine Bitcoin, you get to set the user agent to whatever you want.
Right.
So I'm assuming that this is able to be set by anybody, and I have no special information on the matter. But separately, I would probably, assume in good faith that somebody would not spend, however much money this is to promote JD Investment if they were not JD Investment, which is Jingdong. Which is appearing to be Jingdong or Ant, Mai or Binance. On the last call here, we were talking about the merge, and we were looking like one entity has like a quarter of the staking for Ethereum. I didn't actually specifically think that was a problem on Ethereum, but it's just a different amount of, the biggest one here is 5% and then 4%. So it's good to, compare these things. And then the 10th one is like 3%. So this is, I don't know if this is healthy or not healthy, but it's not 50%. It's not 10%.
Who's backing the TRON ecosystem?
I believe they had an ICO. Again, I'm not authoritative on this stuff. It's just, I should be, but I should know this stuff. But I believe they had an ICO on Ethereum for raised 15,000 Bitcoin. So the project raised about $70 million originally in 2017, 18, something like that. And then at that point, the tokens were worth 1/10 of a cent. Since then, they've gone up 30x. So assuming that they kept some of their tokens. So it says, okay, 30% of the tokens, according to this website, Coin Codex, 70%, 40% of the tokens were allocated during the public sale, 60% were held. And then at some point in the past 4 years, they've gone up 30x. They've originally raised 70 million. And then, the tokens could have gone past 30x, but, they've gone up, quite a bit. So they've got decent money appears here. That's TRON. So I'm interested to hear more, and, I'm here to learn. Open it up. Is there any other chains I should be looking at?
That's a great question. What do you think about Chainlink? Any thoughts?
It's tough. So Chainlink. Okay, so Chainlink has two things. One is connecting chains, and then two is just this random number generator, right?
Yeah.
So the random number generator is not random.
Other Oracle
Yeah.
instances, right?
Yeah, they're those stuff. I think that's the most popular one. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think so too. And like weather, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Early on, before they had the VRF, I didn't really know what it was about, but more recently, being able to pull in dollar, Ethereum values, etc., and provable randomness has kind of been their selling point, I suppose.
So I believe I have proof that the numbers are not actually, this is not a provably random system. Not to say that there's fraud, but to say that there's potential. Here's the secret. Is potentially if you controlled a node and you controlled the random number verifier, that you could game the system. I did not see this disclosed anywhere, and so I'm planning to blog about this.
What would they need to actually do in order to change the algorithm to make it not random if they did take control?
Change the socially accepted meaning of random, because nothing can be random on chain.
Why not? I'm not a math person, but if we can put it in conceptual terms.
We're going to put it in conceptual terms. We're going to use the technique that from high school. Okay, let's assume it was possible to make a random number. Right? Step one. Step two, let's make a smart contract that decides whether the random number is yes or no.
Okay.
Okay? So somehow on the blockchain, we need to verify whether it's a yes or no. Now, all of the information on the blockchain, all of it, is bits and bytes. There's only so much stuff in the blockchain, and they're all bits and bytes. So these bits and bytes somehow have to result in a yes or a no. This is like the free will and determinism thing. If there's bits and bytes that result in a yes or a no, somebody can game those bits and bytes.
So why is this random number generator based on the data that's inside of the blockchain? Why are we basing it on that particular data? Maybe I'm not following because I sort of just jumped on.
Yeah, you're cool. There's some information on the blockchain that's public, and then there's some information that's private in the oracle, and they combine to create a quote random result, air quote here. And that is what's relied on for a lot of stuff. However, I did not see it disclosed, and I have not seen a blog post, which I'm preparing, where you could say if you controlled both the oracle, if the person who controlled the oracle also created blocks on the blockchain, they could create any random outcome they wanted,
Okay.
which is dangerous.
And an oracle is basically, it provides data that the blockchain relies on to sort of validate certain, is it in a sense like contracts or smart contracts? Is that kind of what an oracle is in this context?
Sort of, yes. So oracle is a very broad concept. The oracle includes trusted information for, like, example, what is the price of Apple stock? That's something that we can all see, probably. We can probably agree-ish on what is the price of Apple stock at any given point. Now, another thing, random numbers, they're claiming is distributed, provably verifiable, provable random number. That's a different thing. That is an oracle, but it is a provably random thing, which is a slightly stronger guarantee than just a normal oracle. Cool.
So what I'm sort of not getting is, so it may be random if the system is not being manipulated. If the system is just running how it is, no one's exploiting the oracle, then it's random. But you're saying if the system is manipulated a certain way, then it's not. It could not be random. But I mean, you could say that about any random number generator if you simply just change the code. You know, what's so special about having a backdoor or a normal means of changing the system versus going in the back end and just manipulating some other random number generator and changing it?
I love your question.
Why are you calling this particular thing out?
Here's why. Because it is advertised as verifiably random. So it's not verifiably random. That's the problem, is they're overselling it. If they were selling it as a trusted random number generator where you need to trust us and we promise not to screw you, then I wouldn't be blogging about this. But when they say we used magic and, pixie dust to solve something that's not solvable, that's when it goes on my blog list as something that might be worth writing about.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, all right, so what you're saying is if they had a disclaimer every time someone is manipulating the oracle, saying, hey, someone's manipulating the oracle,
No.
it's not random.
No.
Then you wouldn't have a problem with them. 'Cause
No.
then they would be...
When they're saying that these are verifiably random, that's triggering me. If they had said these are just random, or these should be random, or there's an assurance that they're random, I would not be triggered. But the claim that it is definitely guaranteed random, that's dangerous. Just like comparing this to bonds. If you buy a bond in the United States government, you're probably going to get your money back. And you're probably going to get, 1% interest or whatever they're advertising. So when you buy bonds from the United States government, it says, here's the interest, here's the principal, and we promise to pay you back. When they say that, I'm not offended. If the United States government instead said, we're selling bonds, and we've never defaulted on bonds before, I guess, we're going to give you the 1% back, and there's no possible way mathematically that we could screw you. It's mathematically impossible for us not to pay you back your money. Then I get triggered. And I say, well, I can imagine a scenario where the United States government would not pay me back, especially if you're Russia right now. There's a scenario where they might not pay you back. And so that would be overselling their position. Obviously, the United States government, when they sell bonds, they do not say that because that's not a reasonable thing to say. Likewise, I believe that Chainlink is probably being unreasonable in the way that they're saying this is verifiably random.
That's a good analogy for it.
Thank you. I love good analogies. If you're not good at making analogies, you can't be a programmer. That's like an interview question.
I feel you. How do you feel about Scaffolding and Austin's work there? And two, a rather larger question is, would it be possible to see a more natural language created to deploy onto a chain? And the reason this came to mind, I was watching Dylan, I can't remember his last name, I think it might be BT, an old talk game on the Art of Code. I'll find the link for you so you can add it into the doc. And he showed lots of different variations of code which had been rebuilt and specifically worked towards a code called Rockstar, which, I was just impressed that you have people that are rewriting code in a language that suits them, like white space, and it just dawned on me that surely there is a way to write a far easier to understand code, so you can have things like the education we have for kids.
Yeah.
I can put my son on code.org and he can learn.
Okay, so the idea makes sense. So the idea is, can we have a different language? Can we improve accessibility of this language? Can we make this thing easier to use? I think that idea makes sense. Practically, we've got a couple problems. I'm going to call Solidity a niche language. There's just not that much stuff. There's a lot of copy-paste. There's a lot of variations, but in the future, are we going to have a lot more stuff in Solidity? I don't really think so. Solidity it's a language that runs on a specific machine to notarize stuff. And really, honestly, the only valuable thing we've found to do with that ability is to trade NFTs, which NFTs are extremely valuable, can do a lot of different things. And the other use case, which is not legitimate, is just trading unregulated financial instruments, illegally probably. And that's like the only thing we could figure out to do with Ethereum. And then some, infrastructure on top and below that. So there's really not that much stuff. What I'm trying to say is that Solidity is a great language to learn, to how to program, but it's not a great language it's not a very broad language where you're going to do a lot of stuff in the Solidity. The primitives that you would create inside of Solidity, like an NFT contract or ERC20 or something, you can use them a lot of different ways. Like you can get a lot of mileage out of them. The second point is that even Solidity itself, which is funded, the people are paid to work there. They have enormous contributions from the source, from the community. They have a lot of use case. A lot of people are using it. A lot of people depend on it. Even them have yet to release version 1. So they're years into this. They have not released version 1 of their product. So I think, and Viper is a good language too. We've implemented NFT ERC 721 in Viper. I think it is premature to consider a competitor to Solidity. Unless you have the amount of resources that Solidity has, unless you have, an extreme amount of buy-in already. Like, for example, if you're Microsoft and you want to do this, okay. If you're Microsoft and you've publicly made a commitment that you're going to join blockchain and you want to compete with Solidity, or for example, your Flow, which is not using Solidity, then, okay, you have the resources to do this. But unless you're Microsoft or Axioms or Dapper Labs, or unless you have that level, then you might do it wrong, which could hurt people. And for example, Solidity had a bug last month. So they had a bug. And, these things matter. So there was a bug in Solidity. Is there going to be a bug in your version? Are you going to do more Q&A, more quality assurance than Solidity does? If not, I do not recommend creating a new language. Now, there's a lot that we can do. Personally, I think some of this visual programming and some of these tools that we could make should simply depend on a few existing deployed smart contracts, but these tools would simply use the smart contracts. These should not be tools to create smart contracts. They should be tools to use smart contracts. For example, make your own token. That's probably the number one tool that people want. Make your own token. Make an NFT, make a group of NFTs, make an NFT with this feature, make an NFT with that feature. That business requirement can easily be implemented without deploying a new smart contract to the chain. Or at a minimum, just deploying a proxy.
Yeah, good question, good answers, right? And you reframed my question in the way that I was trying to propose it, right? I wasn't talking about a competitor as such, but an easier kind of plug and play. So people like me, people like my son, could get on and really see our skills growing and develop a deeper understanding faster than looking at actual Solidity, the kind of stepping stone.
Yeah. I support this goal. Open Zeppelin Contracts has this. So I'll tell you about theirs. Contract Wizard. This is a nice wizard where you could take an ERC721 and you just check on the features that you want. And then you click on them, you add the features. You do not want upgradability. It's got question marks and like, what do these features mean? And there you go. And so it spits out, yeah, sort of Solidity. I mean, this could have been done without actually, there's an easier way to do this, which is fine too. But yeah, it gives you some code, and then it allows you to open it directly into Remix, which is an IDE for writing Solidity. And yeah, it pastes it right in there. So this is a good, this is a starting point. You can download the code, custom. You can make any contract. So this is pretty decent. Solidity Wizard, Cairo Wizard. So they have it for Cairo. Open Zeppelin's in Cairo too, cool. And then it gives you the code that you need. And then you can download it or you can play with it. I would go a step further. I would also, so I'm coming at this from the other end. I'm coming at the end from your son who's going to make a dApp, who's going to need to know the JavaScript HTML. I'm planning to release a tool that, is a template for that as well. But this is a tool you can use to have usable code that's connected to, very popular battle-tested code that's out there. It's got nice links. Maybe this is a link to somewhere. Yeah, there you go.
It's great. I didn't know about that. Do they have tradable as an option?
Untradable? Nope, not yet.
That's what they call soulbound, isn't it, Daniel? Something like that.
And then.
So back to question one.
Yep.
What do you think about Scaffolding?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think we looked at this before. The website is currently down. It just redirects back to the GitHub project. So I'm not sure if this is intended to be offline right now.
Scaffolding is just it's just like a boilerplate for contracts and like a React app.
for me to teach it is harder. So for me, even if I knew it, that doesn't help me help you. I mean, it helps me. Oh, I got a nice tool that uses React. But now I'm on the phone with you, and I'm like, oh, go learn React.
Yeah. Well, it's the accessibility issue again, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think, luckily, if you tell somebody, I've done classes with people who've never programmed anything before. And if I tell them, I have the homework. I'm going to pull up the homework right now. Here's what my homework looks like. This is for people who have never done programming before. And this is the class I give them. One of the steps is go install a text editor like VS Code. That's as many words as it takes to explain that. People can figure out how to install that. And it says, go make a hello world HTML file. I don't even explain that. And nobody has come to class not knowing what a hello world HTML file is. They just figured it out. They open YouTube, they open the internet. These are people who've never programmed before, and in less words than it took me to explain to install VS Code, they went and figured out how to make an HTML file that has hello world. It's just, HTML really is that simple. People just get it. I would like to see Scaffold ETH in more vanilla languages here, and I might make one day.
Yeah, that would be incredible. And again, it's back to that. If I think about, I want my son, who is coming up 10, to be able to learn this stuff that I want to learn as easy as possible, so I can easily get him on the pathway. As it stands right now, Scaffold ETH isn't it.
Yep.
But I do believe that it's the closest thing to it right now, but that may be because I haven't seen anything else.
Yeah.
Jackie, have you tried crypto zombies?
I have. Maybe I should go back to that. Maybe I should go through crypto zombies again. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, that was a good entry point for me. It's less on the web dApp side and more on intro to. I remember it fondly. It was wonderful when I went through it the first time. And it'd be interesting to see actually how I approach it this time.